Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ask the Theologian today. Sorry you don't have any music there. My bad. But here we are, ready to take your biblical, theological, and worldview questions. We're live today and looking forward to your chats and seeing what's on your mind in the world today. You know, I was off yesterday. Sorry about that. Hope that you survived. And I've got something. Let me see if I can pull this up. Yes. So if you have one of those, little camera things that opens up a URL, you might want this. I'm gonna put this up, and I'm going to explain what that is. So there's plenty of time for you to take a look at that. If you use the Signal app, if not, you probably should use the Signal app. It's free anyway. It's a messaging app. But you can take this and join the RWM Broadcast Alert group. You may be able also just to find that if you're on Signal by searching for that. And I'll put the link here later on in the comments as well. But this is the QR code to the RWM Broadcast Alerts. Now, I am trying this out a little bit new, so we'll see. But there's a broadcast alert for this morning. Some of you miss our old broadcast alerts. You can sign up for this. This is not a chat room, so don't go in there and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Anybody want to go have coffee? What do you think about the latest in politics?" It's not that. It's just, we'll put an alert. If you put a chat, we'll delete your chat because it's not for chats, okay? It's not for chats. It's not for chats. This one's not for chats. We don't have chats here. This one's not for chats. But we do put out the broadcast alerts. So like tonight, you can get it. You can mute the notifications or you can receive the notifications, whatever you want to do. And get that so that you say, "Oh, now I know where to find it." Check that out. And this morning I just put the Worshipify broadcast alert. We'll probably put both of them, both links when we do that. So just another little added blessing for you as we try to help you find our broadcasting. Once again, okay, thanks, Ken, for saying Safari cannot open the page because the address is invalid. I didn't try it. Let's see what it does on mine. Well, mine went there. I wonder if you have to have Signal first. I don't know. There's that code again. I wonder if you have to have Signal for that to work. Ken, do you have Signal? You can check that out. Anyway, there's that QR code once again. And, of course, you can back up and get that. And I will put the actual link into the broadcast. And I think if you have broadcast, if you have Signal, it's a nice little app. And you can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your computer, and you can go there. It is called RWM Broadcast Alerts. RWM Broadcast Alerts. And once again, I'll put the actual link there. But Signal, you can chat with people, say hello. It's the government's not listening. Check that out. Okay. Now, here we go. Let's jump into your questions. Got some questions that come into from the other day, but let's go on it. Let's start with Ken in the Dallas area. On Mondays, Ask the Theologian. What's the website you go to in displaying the different versions? In that particular case, it was different versions of John chapter 7, verse 8. That actually, I believe, I'm gonna put this up just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I believe that's the Logos Bible software. And that, if you can get their free version. There's their music going on there. As I open that up, you can get their free version, and honestly, their free version is all that I would recommend. they get a lot of evangelical garbage in there, but they do have a few things. For example, Biblify does not have the texts of Scripture that are based upon the academic's text, often called the critical text, perverted, messed up, probably forged. We don't have that on Biblify, but they do have it on Logos because they drool over evangelical garbage. But there are a couple of things that are kind of nice on there, and one is this. It probably looked something like this. That, you know, they have ESV and NIV and net. Well, some of these you may have to download, but you can probably download them in the free version. New Living Christian Standard. Some of them you may have to pay to get that version. Why in the world would anyone pay to get an NIV? But that is kind of nice, a nice addition. The problem, we literally will never have that on Biblify because you would have to pay, you know, these foundations that own these particular versions in order to use that version. And why would we want to do that? so it's not on there. I don't know if there's another comparison software out there, nor do I. I think that the text comparison on Logos is called text comparison, and I think that it's available in the free version. Now, the free version, they make it hard to find. I don't remember if it's called Basic or something like this, but check that out. You'll be able to dig around. Just look up Logos Bible Study. I believe the company now is called Faith Life because Faith Life means a lot more than Logos. So you can check that out and see what happens. There you go, Ken. I hope that is helpful. Scott, down in Texas. If Musk, referring to Elon, not the aroma, if Musk starts a video hosting platform on X, will you use it? Seems to me it would be a great idea. Personally, I will abandon YouTube immediately if X does this. You know, I've been meaning to look into broadcasting on X. They have some sort of broadcasting now. Nathan tells me we can do it. It's just a little bit of homework into figuring, okay, how do you do it? But the X broadcasting platform right now is not like YouTube where you go to a channel and you see all their videos. It's rather a person's X feed and you scroll down 80,000 scrolls and there you find it. So it's helpful for a live broadcast if somebody knows it's going to be there, but it's not a hosting platform. I hope he does start a hosting platform, and yeah, I would use it. But Nathan tells me we can broadcast to multiple platforms at once. We used to broadcast to Facebook. They kicked us off. And we're still obviously on YouTube, and we have Worshipify always as our backup, and randywhiteministries.org. They all use that same Worshipify platform. So yeah, I would go there definitely, and appreciate that. So yeah, I see Lisa too talking about Safari won't open. Again, see if. Those of you trying to open that, see if you get the Signal app first, either on your computer or on your phone. See if that then will work. I could be wrong there. Maybe I've got something. And again, maybe the direct link would work better than the QR code. Anonymous question. How can, first theological question of the day, how can the soul continue to live without the spirit after death? Here, possibly as early as this Sunday, by the way, I'm going to talk about soul sleep, and the Bad Penny sent me a nice little letter on his position on soul sleep, and so we're going to work through this. Why do some people believe in a soul sleep position? And so probably we'll get into this more deeply. But here's the issue I would say on this, the soul and the spirit. there's certainly, you get into what is it in Hebrews, I believe it's in Hebrews, that talks about the Word of God is living and active and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of the soul and the spirit. So somehow there is a way to divide the soul and the spirit, piercing to the division of the soul and spirit. Now, here's the challenge when it comes to body, mind, soul, spirit. Body is the easiest one of those to separate out. Typically, it's the debate on, are we 3 parts or are we 2 parts? Body and soul, body and spirit and soul, and mind often would be into one of those. I think that the Scripture, this is especially true. Let's go ahead and do a little search here, and let me verify this. Let's start in the Hebrew, and let's take the word spirit. And we're going to base this off the Hebrew word. And when we do, pulling this up here where you can see it, sorry about that. If we take this particular Hebrew word, Strong's Hebrew 3707, I believe, hard for me to see that, but you've got spirit, even cool of the day, spirit, breath, wind, spirit and wind are pretty much, seems to be what we've got. There's anger, then their anger was abated towards him. Okay, in the context, Hebrew allows a pretty broad context in words, so anger probably is the best definition there. So you've got the blast of his nostrils, the Spirit of the Lord. Could you come through and carry that out? Now, I want to there's the word spirit. Let's just look at the word soul. He became a living soul. Now, here I've looked it up in English, so we're going to have to go actually and pull up that Hebrew word. I think my point is going to be that I'm not sure we've got enough of an understanding between spirit and soul to even adequately describe what it is. And especially if you put mind and heart and some of these other things that we could carry out earlier. So how can the mind live on without the heart? How can the spirit live on without the soul? There's going to be so much there that's going to be dependent upon definition. So here we have life. Every living thing, he became a living soul. This particular word seems to be about the life aspect of it. Let's see, Genesis 12:5. Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's sons, and the substance that they had gathered, and the souls they had gotten in Haran. Okay, so the lives. My soul shall live because of thee. Now, let's check that out. Genesis 12:13. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well for thy sake, and my soul. Okay, I won't die. So the word soul seems to be the physical life, but in 23:8, he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that if it be your mind that I should bury my dead. This is the sort of thinking side of life. Thy soul may bless thee. Is that thy physical life may bless thee? Maybe. The persons of his house, the physical lives there in his house, life, soul, spirit, mind. Here's my point. How can the soul continue to live without the spirit? How are you going to define it? How are we going to, if we can work through and develop something. So let's say the soul is alive, but the spirit is not. What do you mean by that? The soul is alive, but the spirit is not. Oh, his spirit is still with us. No. His spirit is not with us. His spirit is dead. No, but we got the spirit of 76. No, we don't have the spirit of 76. We got the spirit of 24 because the spirit can't. So it becomes, to me anyway, and maybe I'm just too boneheaded to see it, I have a hard time separating any of this. For example, if I come to lunch, I'm going to bring body, soul, spirit, mind, heart, stomach, spleen, guts. The whole thing. If I die on my way, would I be there in spirit? I don't know. If I die on my way, could my body be here and my soul be with the Lord? My spirit be with the Lord? My presence be with the Lord? To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord? And that's, I think it comes down to that issue. How can the soul continue to live without the spirit? There has to be a presence with the Lord absent from the body, period. Because the scripture says so. Absent from the body is present with the Lord. I don't think you can really insert absent from the body means 1,000 years later you'll be present with the Lord. That to me is very artificial. So how does it do it? I don't even know how my heart beats. I don't know how my mind works. I don't know how all these neurons do all this firing. I don't know how, I don't know the answer. But with absent from the body and present with the Lord, how can there not be a separation and yet a continuation? Seems to me that there has to be. Somewhere, somehow, you've got to put that in there. You've got to deal with that particular issue there. Thank you very much. Let's go to Richmond down in Pensacola, Florida, who's soon to be on his way to Taos, New Mexico, and I'm glad, and I would love for some of you all to join us. Just make your way down here. And be a part of our Taos Prophecy Conference, not this weekend, but next weekend. We'll have a delightful time. The weather's going to be beautiful. The leaves are starting to change. All is going to be good. I'm going to come back to Richmond in just a moment because I find that I find a few comments I want to check up on. Cliff says, for what it's worth, that QR open was for the Signal app to open. Okay, yeah, thank you. So you do have to have Signal for that QR code to work. He also says Signal is available on Linux. Man, this just gets better and better. Go Linux. Yeah, I need to switch over to that. Toby, this is where I wanted to come back with that previous comment before we get on to Rich. 1 Thessalonians 5:23. Let me go ahead and pull that up on the screen. He's given that to us, but I want you to be able to see it. 1 Thessalonians 5:23. And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless until the coming of the Lord, of our Lord. So Paul does seem to say I'm going to flip the coin, make sure I'm valid on this. Paul seems to say there could be partiality to it. Because why would you say sanctify you wholly if there's no ability to do anything other than sanctify you wholly? If you can't have, like let's take my mug right here. If someone calls in, says, hey, I'd like one of those mugs, it would be a weird thing for me to say, do you want the whole thing? Or would you rather just have this side and not this side? Would you rather just have the handle and not? Do you want the whole? If I hey, I'd like one of those mugs. Do you want the whole mug? Yeah, I think I'll take the whole mug. We wouldn't say holy, and he says it twice here. Holy and whole sure seems to indicate that there is the ability to divide these. And it goes back with that Hebrews passage to the division of the soul and the spirit and the joints and the marrow. You can take these things apart. So in some way, you've got to deal with the fact that I don't know how to separate them, and I don't know how to even necessarily define them. Even when you get here, spirit, soul, body. I could define it as the eternal thing, the mind, the thinking, the heart, the feelings, and the body. I can define it that way. But then what if I call the mind and the thinking the soul? You say, no, that's the spirit. I say, no, the spirit lives forever. The soul is the soul of who you are. It's the suke. It's where we get psychology. It's dealing with your mind and your thinking. You say, no, I look at it this way. No, I look at it that way. It's just it's a matter of who defines it. But it sure does seem like you can put... you can have a separation. Otherwise, it's just silly for him to say holy and whole, spirit, soul, body. Ultimately, that he desires the whole thing to be preserved, not a separation of any kind. Ultimately on there. Thank you. Now, back to Richmond. Dr. White, follow up to God knows all possibilities of the future, not all outcomes. This is in our Prove It series. It was in Branson. I ventured out there to that, which is a scary thought, and it's only scary because all of the theologians say don't go there. But as I read the arguments, they don't really say why not to go there. Don't go there, that's heretical. Don't. No. But they don't give any good, valid, biblical arguments for why God just knows all possibilities of the future, but not all outcomes. My argument is, if we really have free will, then that will is completely open. It has to be free. If God knew what we were going to do before the foundation of the world and he made the world in that order, it's not free. It is cemented in creation itself, in the foreknowledge of God. It is absolutely, incontrovertibly unchangeable, which is not free will. And yet the Bible tells us we have free will. So God knows I could choose A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And he's comfortable with that. And he knows that my choice might affect Shelley's choice, might affect Nathan's choice, might affect Hannah's choice, might affect your choice. And all of these are going to come in the probabilities get staggering, but God is big enough to understand all this and say, I'm good with it. I can handle this. I'm not scared. So now to the question. The question is, could we read Genesis 3, 9 through 14 non-rhetorically? Let's check that out. Genesis 3. Oh. I get it now. I'm like, what's that old West Virginia hick using with the word like rhetorically? And I find out he's educated, actually. We do take Genesis 3, 9 through 14 rhetorically. That's, when we say rhetorically speaking, we mean, I don't really mean that. I mean, I know, it's a rhetorical question. Don't give the answer. I know the answer. So here's the question. Where art thou? Where art thou? How many times have we, the preacher, said, well, God knows exactly where he is? The bit of a challenge here is that the decision has already been made. I think we would have to take our position one step further than I have taken it. I've said God is comfortable with all outcomes. So he doesn't know what decision I'm going to make, but I think we would have to say he does know what decision I made. Go back to Adam. If he knows what decision God made, then surely he knows where he is. This is in the right now, in the present, not in the future. He said, I heard thy voice in the garden. I was afraid, Adam speaking, because I was naked. I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten? The man said, the woman whom thou gavest to me, we of course know the conversation. So I'm going to have to bounce through that one a little bit, because let's take it. Let's go back to verse 9. Let's assume God doesn't know, lest he wouldn't ask. Adam, where are you? We meet here every day. You're not here. I don't know where you are. He called, Adam heard, said, I was afraid. I assume that Adam shows himself here, but maybe he's just still yelling. Who told thee? The woman told me. The Lord God said unto the woman. Now, again, God appears to be seeing them now. What is this that thou hast done? The woman said, the serpent beguiled me. I did eat. The Lord said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, cursed are you. And I promise a redeemer. It's a bit farther than I want to go, but I don't want my answer to be, don't go there. I want my answer to be, I think we should check this out. Is there a way to read Genesis 3:9 especially, non-rhetorically? It's a legit question. Where are you? I think we would run into some challenges on it. But I don't have a problem if it was, where are you going to be tomorrow? That one's a little bit more, you have the opportunity, like, I'll take Joshua. Choose ye this day whom you shall serve. Who are you going to choose? It's completely free. It's completely open. You can choose it. When you choose it, I'll know. I'll know. Chandler the Excavator has a comment on this. Why can't God choose not to know until he knows? This gets into deep theology. By the way, Chandler, I need some driveway work done. But anyway, the philosophical concept is God limiting his knowledge. Does God limit his knowledge? In the session, I said God does not limit his knowledge. There is the position that God chose not to know. I think it undoes again, deep challenging issue here. I think that you still run into the problem that there is some degree, this goes back earlier to creation, not right now, goes back into the issue of it seems to be set there anyway. Even if he's chosen not to know it, it's there, it's done. I am going to say it is unknowable. Our decisions are unknowable until they are made. So there's no limiting knowledge. It's just, I don't know. I can't tell you because it hasn't happened yet. It's yet undone. Which I think is the only position that wholly deals with the free will issue, that doesn't negate the free will issue at all. It's totally free will. It is not a done deal yet. When it's a done deal, I can tell you. So, we struggle with this, and I think it's because the theology we've been taught. We struggle with God not knowing the future, but we don't struggle with God cannot make a square circle. So yeah, it's impossible to make a square circle. Okay, why isn't it impossible for there to be something unknowable until it happens? If you can't make a square circle, can you make the unknowable knowable? We've chosen to accept one, God knows the unknowable, and reject the other. We're comfortable with God can't make a square circle. A circle's a circle, a square is a square. I want to carry that over and say knowable is knowable, unknowable is unknowable. And I think there's a shade of difference, but and I'm not sure I've gotten here yet, Chandler, but there's a shade of difference that has more implications than we think. If he's just chosen not to know, it's a little bit of stick your head in the sand, put the blinders on. I'm not looking, I'm not going to know. It's kind of like, today they have the big, what do you call them? Gender reveal, when a couple's having their baby. And we used to, back in the day, we used to find out when it came out. You looked. But today, that's not the way to do it. You have to have a big party. You got to have a cake that's got blue, green, whatever. Green? That's for aliens. Balloons. And typically, and the people who do sonograms know that this is the culture now. They do the sonogram. Of course, we didn't used to have those, but they do the sonogram. And they say, okay, I know, I'm going to write it down on this piece of paper, seal it up in an envelope for you to give the person who can know. So this person chooses not to know. It is knowable. They choose not to know until they reveal it to everyone because they want this Kodak moment of surprise. Ah! Which you're going to have that moment either way it goes, right? What are you going to do? But anyway, it's a little bit fake. Yeah, the mom and dad don't know, but several people know. You're going to be surprised when they find out. I don't know. It just seems like a social experiment. To put the, I mean, you know, it's one thing to do it for a gender reveal. It's a different thing to do it for God. Interesting. Thank you. Cleaning up my chat box there, so I can get to your questions. Mr. Chartier, been a few days, and this question I think is a few days old. The question is on Galatians chapter 3, verse 29, which says, "If ye be Christ's, then ye are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise." Doesn't Galatians 3:29 say we Christians are Abraham's seed through Jesus Christ? Well, let me pull up my notes on this. I think it's an oversimplification because Ishmael is Abraham's seed. And so he's certainly talking in a spiritual manner. There's no way Paul would deny Ishmael is Abraham's seed. So if you're trying to say, doesn't Galatians 3:29 prove that we are recipients of all the Jewish blessings and promises? No, it doesn't promise that. You gotta take the full context. And I would challenge you to say Galatians is one of the most difficult books in the New Testament. Don't look at this as a simple book because you will misread it every time. Galatians is a very complicated book, of a philosophical and theological book, a dispensational book that you really got to dig into deep there. So, yeah, Abraham's seed, heirs according to promise. What we have is promise-based, just like what Israel had was promise-based. The children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was promise-based, not works-based. I have a covenant with you. I'm giving you this land. I'm going to ultimately, by the time you get to David, give you a kingdom. Several of those that are simply promise-based, not behavioral-based. They had other behavioral-based decisions. So, for example, you cannot say the possession of the land, you cannot say because Abraham believed and it was credited unto him as righteousness, therefore all Israelites will possess the land. No, the possession of the land was not according to promise. It was according to law. It was according to obedience. It was according to works. So what you don't want to do is generalize here, because if you generalize this for Israel, heirs according to promise, they don't ever have to do any works. No, they do. They do have to do some works for the possession of that land. And so if you take this and generalize this, hey, you and I, we're heirs according to the promise. Therefore, all the promises of Israel are ours. It's generalization which will generally mess you up. Thank you. Mr. Chartier, appreciate that. Richard. Again, my questions are a few days old. Sorry about this. Richard, the question is the Bible prohibiting polygamy and polyandry, respectively? Let's first of all get a definition just so everyone knows. Polygamy, gamos is the word for wife, poly, many wives, more than one wife. Polyandry, andros is the name for man, poly or husband. So polyandry is the opposite of polygamy. One man has multiple wives, one wife has multiple husbands. Now, the Bible, as far as I know, never speaks of polyandry. As a matter of fact, very few times down through history in any society will you find examples of polyandry. Now, there no doubt is an anecdotal evidence here or there, but in terms of this is a thing, this is a normal thing, people do this, you can find polygamous societies. You find them in the Bible, of course. For this reason, you find a prohibition of it. Basically, this reason of a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife. This is the way it has been from the beginning, even though has not always been expressed that way in society. But is there a prohibition against polyandry? No, not really. I mean, I think we have to take the Bible for exactly what it says. It's just that I think that first of all, nobody does it. And secondly, it certainly would go against the spirit of marriage itself and of a woman being underneath, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, underneath her husband who is underneath Christ. So though it's not explicitly textually prohibited, it doesn't fit the model that is given, and therefore it's prohibited. You know, you take a tool, for example, I don't know, a socket set, and you've got a 9/16 bolt there, and you take your 7/16 socket, and you try to use it. It's not prohibited to use it. It just won't work. I think that's the case we've got with polygamy and polyandry. And then, you know, you could go into all sorts of craziness, various ideas on various forms of relationships that men and women have had in the past. Because, you know, let's just face it, when it comes to sexuality, people get awfully creative. The Bible doesn't speak to all those forms of creativity, but it does give us the model and say that's the model. Outside of that model, no, it's you don't have that. Thank you. Solomon did break the rule. Yes, yes, he did. That's why vice grips are useful. You're right, Cliff. Yeah. I thought I had a pair of vice grips on there, but it's not. It's just a little tiny pair of pliers. Is there such a thing as having good luck? Anonymous question. Is there such a thing as having good luck? Kind of, sort of, but not really. I'll put that. There's good happenstance. It just so happened, boom, 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 these things came together. Just like bad luck is, hey, the perfect storm. I got this. How in the world could all those bad things happen at once? But those bad things do happen at once. I have a book. I think the book is called The Black Swan. That's really rather interesting. Interesting concept, and I want to bring this in because I think it will go together. Yes, here is the book. Sorry to bring up this other website here, but The Black Swan, second edition, The Impact of the Highly Improbable, with a new section on robustness and fragility. Okay, this is Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He was a Lebanese Christian family that moved out. Very interesting book, not written from a Christian point of view at all. Some interesting philosophy in it. Basically what he says, and I think I agree with him, he says there are things that are highly improbable, but when the highly improbable happens, it makes a huge impact. Now, he speaks of it mostly in the terms of negative because he's coming from an insurance point of view, really, and what goes on. He gives an example in there. If I may have the details wrong, but he gives an example of a casino. I want to say it's in Vegas, but that could not. Could be Atlantic City or something. He gives this illustration of a casino who had insured against all of the probabilities of the dice, let's say. Here's the things that can happen in gambling. But what bankrupted the casino was like a bookkeeper who was taking all the money. So they looked at this and say, okay, here's all our probabilities. Oh, there's this other thing over here. Never thought about that. I think with both good luck and bad luck, if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Remember that song? But I think with good luck and bad luck, we tend to be in the middle. Some people overemphasize the bad things in their life. But I think, we tend to be standard deviation on this whole thing. I hate to be, cold as a stainless steel sink and, rather that the devil's punishing you or God's blessing you or whatever we'd like to do, the way we put it in evangelicalism. But maybe it's just, hey, these things happen, here, there, everywhere. There it is. So is there good luck? Yeah. I think that from time to time, the things just come together at the right time, and you would look at it and say, luck, again, is luck really the best word? It's somebody made a decision somewhere, something happened somewhere. But again, maybe it's acorns falling from the sky, whatever. So there's some either natural or decision making that was done to bring about that which brought about this. Is this domino effect? Boom, it all comes together. So I'm not scared of saying, hey, that's, we call it luck, good luck. I struggle every now and then with our John Nelson Darby Academy because sometimes when it's time for a quiz, we'll say, hey, study hard and good luck. And then, should we say good luck? Because really it's based on good study. But it might be good luck that, hey, we happen to choose the questions that they did study for and not the ones that, and our wording was good and all that kind of stuff. I think maybe we've gone overboard in being scared of the word luck. It's a word that we use for happenstance. And we don't want to say, good providence to you. But we would be comfortable saying, I hope things go well. That's, in a sense, we're just saying it a little bit differently. Well, let's go to Pastor Tim here and Timothy here in just a moment. But Deb, actually, Deb says, I found out Signal isn't just for chat, isn't for chats, just for alerts. Actually not. You can chat. There is also, and I didn't put it on here, there is a RWM chats on Signal. Broadcast alerts is just for alerts. Chats is for those who want to chat, because those who don't chat don't understand this, but not everybody wants to chat. Some people, I don't want to chat. Other people are like, please, let's chat all day long. So you can choose RWM chats, RWM broadcast alerts, both on Signal. Chats, you do have to we have to approve you. And the reason for that is I don't want, somebody out there coming into the chat room that you don't know, because you're going to have a name and information, you might, who knows what, so we're going to know you when you're in the chat room. But broadcast alerts, we don't chat there, so it's just out there. Okay, thanks. Now, Pastor Timothy, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I think a basic flaw in your position on what God does or does not know in the future has its roots in Calvinism. He put the yuck there. I agree. You are deaf on Calvinism, which I wholeheartedly agree with. However, I think you allow Calvin to define the terms. That's so far I like what you've said. It's a question the assumptions kind of thing. Hey, are you stuck in this particular mold and that's why you're coming out that way? Maybe so. Let's continue to see what Pastor Timothy has to say. The church, whether consciously or not, has allowed such terms as sovereign, foreknowledge, and free will. Okay, I'm going to stop there too and say, yeah, you might be onto something here. It's this pigeonhole issue. We let somebody define the pigeonholes out of tradition, and maybe we don't need to. So is Pastor Timothy going to help us question the assumptions? Let's go on. I realize, he says, it's difficult to shed previously held beliefs, but it's possible. And this I would agree with. Here's the biggest, for newcomers to shedding difficult beliefs, it's very difficult. Once you start shedding previously held beliefs that are wrong, you find the liberation in it, and you say, oh, this is wonderful. Let's get rid of that too. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like, don't ever let your wife clean your closet. She starts throwing one thing away, before long she's going to throw everything in there away because it's liberating. Look how clean the closet is. But so we can get that way. Now, here's that it's difficult for the early people, it's difficult when you're new to get rid of those beliefs. The more you do that, the easier it gets. But what becomes, for the more you do it, what becomes difficult is to recognize where you've got a previously held belief that doesn't have to be that way. Moving on. God can know, Pastor Timothy says, the outcome without causing it to happen unless the Calvinistic definition it relied on. God can know the future without causing it to happen unless the Calvinistic definition is used. Now, I want to think through that little statement right there, and there may be more explanation to it here. God can know the future without causing it. I would agree when it's knowable. Like, we'll have a presidential election in the United States this November. It's knowable. It's law. It's on my calendar. I didn't cause it. I just know it. That's a very knowable thing. I don't know what the outcome will be. Maybe some people do. But if they do, it's not because they're good at predicting. It's because they made it happen. Let's play with something here a moment. Let's say that George Soros has rigged the election. It's just a theory. George Soros has rigged the election, therefore George Soros knows it's going to happen. He wouldn't know what the outcome would be if he didn't cause it. I don't know what the outcome would be. And then the only other people who would know what the outcome was going to be are those who know what George Soros has done. If they go out to dinner with him and, hey, George, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. I rigged the election today. I got that all finished. Now I'm on to the next thing on my to-do list. Okay, then you know it. You didn't cause it, but you know the cause of it. It becomes a knowable thing. Let's just pretend the outcome of the election is absolutely unriggable. I wish. Absolutely unriggable. Then nobody can know it. Can God know it? I'm going to say only if he rigged it. Is that my Calvinistic thinking coming through? Or is it legit to say there are, 250 million voters out there who really do have a free will choice decision and the machine's really going to count it correctly? Then it's unknowable. But let's go on. Calvin defines sovereign as God causing everything. I agree, and I don't agree that that's what sovereign is. I think sovereign is bigger than that. Sovereign is, I'm okay with it. I'm okay not knowing. I'm okay leaving that decision to you. Sometimes, as the sovereign in my home, sometimes I'll say to Shelley, what do you want to eat tonight? Want to go out to eat, or you want to eat at home? Nah, doesn't matter. I say, I know, that's why I ask you. Because it doesn't matter. If it mattered, I wouldn't ask you. I'd just say, we got to go out to eat tonight, or we got. So actually giving her that choice, we going out to eat or we eating at home, means there is a choice. Tonight's Wednesday. So there's no choice. We eat at the church on Wednesday nights. So what do you do with that? Let me go on. Okay. Pastor Timothy says, Calvin defines sovereign as God causing everything. I disagree with that. But God remains sovereign regardless of how he chooses to involve or not involve himself. I completely agree with that. If God had chosen Darwinian evolution to bring about the world of mankind, he would still be sovereign because he made the decision. That's exactly right. If he chose that, we know he didn't choose that because we have Genesis, obviously. But yeah, he certainly could have chosen that, and he didn't choose that. But if he had chosen that, he would have known this is what happens. I've built into the DNA of the the goo, that it will, turn to you eventually. And so I know this is going to happen. This is what's the ingredients. That's what's, so he knows the future because he caused the future. If God hadn't, if God had chosen Darwinian evolution to bring about the world and mankind, he would still be sovereign because he made the decision. Yes. And I think that's my point is, he's sovereign whether he makes the decision or not on the national outcome. For example, I don't think that God put Joe Biden in the White House. I think the American voters, the counters of the American voters, put Joe Biden in the White House. So, but God is sovereign because he says, you guys got stupid little games anyway. Put whoever you want in there. And he's okay with that. If we truly read the Bible literally, absent Calvin, words take on a completely different definition. More could be said. I do agree with you there. Although I think that I have rejected already the Calvinistic definition of sovereignty. I do not think that sovereign means God has to know everything. Or has to cause everything, or has to do everything. I think the Calvinists are dead wrong on that. That if it happens, God did it, and that's Calvin's view. That's the Calvinist view. It's the Reformed theology view. If it happens, God did it. No, it didn't. If it happens, you might have done it. Thank you, Pastor Timothy. Let's see. There is, people are asking me about the numbers that follow. I don't know what those numbers are, Scott, but I tell you what I am going to do here. Right now, for those of you who are trying to get to this, let's go to Worshify first. I am going to, in the chats, put a link to the signal. And then I'm going to go to YouTube. And there I am going to also put a link to the signal. Stop that there. There we go. Okay, those links are both in there, and on YouTube afterwards I'll put it in the comments that go below the video as well. It won't let me do that until after. But there, I think if you have Signal, you can now click those links and get to that. So once again, and I don't know if I can show this to you, but there's the RWM broadcast alerts right here. And how do I don't even know how I look to it. There's also the RWM chats. RWM chats. That's where you can chat. That one you do have to say, hey, I'd like to be in. And we'll get there. One last word, because it's related to it here. There are several passages in the Old Testament that says, I am the Lord, and I more or less did it. Although it looked like Israel did it. Very confusing. Yeah, this does get confusing. God being transcendent, I think, does make it confusing. And probably it's a good reason to say, hey, maybe we don't know everything, even though I pretend like I do here on Ask the Theologian. Thanks for joining us today for our broadcast. I'm glad you're here. And we look forward to seeing you tonight. There'll be a broadcast. I'll put it on broadcast alerts if any of you can figure out how to get there. And I will put that link up available also in the chats. And tonight, about 10 minutes after 6, we're going to be into Mark, the 13th chapter, the Olivet Discourse. Look forward to having you and seeing you, each one of you there. Sorry I don't have any music for you today here, but I do appreciate you being here. You can submit your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at AskTheTheologian.com. God bless you.